Okay, so our next question is actually one of my favorites from this whole thing, and it's from my friend Johari, and she asked a series of questions. The first being, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town? If somebody came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure in our town, how would you evaluate whether or not that project was worth implementing? And a really fun one, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the town any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why? Okay, so first and foremost, if someone came to me with a proposal to build a new piece of infrastructure in the town that was needed, that would be the first thing that we have to figure out. Is it needed? In my career, I do environmental permitting and compliance. A lot of times those projects are done with federal, state, or local funding. And typically the standard set in order to receive funding and to utilize it for a project is you have to show that there is a compelling public need. So without a compelling public need, most of the time you're not going to get grants. Most of the time you're not going to be able to receive that funding and use it. The first thing that you have to do is show that there's a compelling public need for your project. The next thing that we need to do is figure out how we're going to pay for it, how we're going to build it, and what the impacts are. So we know that we need it. We have identified some sources of funding. Some projects you can get grants for. Other projects, unfortunately, you have to pay with taxes. Other projects, could be funded in other ways like loans. But we know that we need it. We now have to figure out how much it's going to cost and how we're going to pay for it. And number two, what is the schedule for it to be built? Unfortunately, this is the real world. And in the real world, really, every problem and potential solution is time and money. How much is it going to cost and how long is it going to take to implement? So if we can figure out those things, then that's kind of a huge hurdle. After you figure out those things, you have to also discuss and determine what are the impacts. So again, for my career, impacts mean environmental impacts typically. And by the way, environmental impacts include impacts to the public. It's not just wetlands and trees and things like that. There are stakeholder impacts that have to be taken into account. The first thing you do in terms of figuring out what sort of impacts there are is you do a public notice. You notify the public of what is actually being built. You solicit their feedback. You solicit their comments. You figure out, are there any impacts that we were not aware of in determining that we need this project? And if there are, how could we solve them? And in the environmental permitting and compliance world, solving them is called mitigation. So how could we mitigate negative impacts to residents? And to me, those two questions that you asked are tied together. So, quick summary. If someone came to me, the first thing I would do is I would absolutely be all ears and listen. What do you have in mind? What do you want to build? And then we would discuss with the various levels of the administration as to, is there a compelling public need for it? Is it something that we can pay for? Is it something that we can get a grant for? And is it something that we can feasibly build without causing downstream impacts to residents, to the environment, or to other unforeseen resources? If you could do this in a transparent way, you've done your due diligence and you've done what is required in making some decisions for the town. And a lot of times these decisions are hard. I'm not saying everything that the town decides to do is easy peasy, and there's not going to be any negative impacts to certain folks, but it's all a balancing game. You have to take the good benefits with the negative impacts, weigh them, and then weigh all the other things like time and money and see you make a decision based on those factors. And thank you for your question, Johari.